welcome back to the Golden Scarab. I think this is going to be a really helpful deep dive for our Kairos Clan listeners today.
Absolutely. And like you said, there are a lot of families out there who are really curious about Montessori.
Especially for their kids with special needs.
Yeah, yeah.
So we're going to take a deep dive into the Montessori method today and try to unpack, what it offers.
It's a fascinating approach for sure.
Yeah.
And, it's been around for over a century now.
Oh, wow.
Developed by Dr. Maria Montessori, one of Italy's first female physicians, actually.
Oh.
I didn't know that. Yeah, she had some pretty revolutionary ideas for the time.
Well, and revolutionary for now. Like, I know that a lot of the parents in Kairos Clan are looking for something that's really different than, like, the mainstream approach.
Yeah.
Something that honors their child's individuality.
Well, and that's really at the heart of Montessori, recognizing that children are naturally curious and learn best through hands-on experiences at their own pace.
So it's not about, like, forcing them to fit into a mold.
Yeah.
It's about really cultivating that
Absolutely not.
natural love of learning.
It's about creating the right environment for them to thrive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I feel like so much of traditional education is, like, trying to fit those square pegs in the round holes,
You got it. And that's where these carefully designed materials come in.
Okay, the materials, I wanted to ask you about this because I've heard things, like the pink tower and the metal insets. I'll be honest, I don't really know what those are.
Sure.
So are we just talking about letting kids play, or is there more to it?
Oh, it's definitely more than just playing around. These materials are very intentional.
Okay.
They isolate specific concepts and skills. Like, take the pink tower. It's basically 10 pink cubes of increasing size.
Okay.
A child might initially just, stack them randomly, but through that, they're internalizing the concept of size gradation, big to small, without even realizing they're learning.
So it's kind of like tricking them into learning in a way.
Kind of, yeah. And because they're enjoying themselves,
Yeah.
the learning is way more effective.
That's so cool. So what about those metal insets? What are those all about?
Those are great for fine motor skills and hand-eye coordination.
Yeah.
So the child basically uses a pencil to trace shapes.
Oh, okay.
And that strengthens those tiny hand muscles, but also gets them ready for writing without them even knowing it.
It sounds so simple, but like so brilliant at the same time.
It really is. And you can see how this hands-on approach could be especially helpful for kids with developmental differences, right?
Yeah.
Especially those who need that extra sensory engagement.
Exactly.
Or learn best through hands-on experiences.
Exactly.
And that's why a lot of people see Montessori as a good fit for kids with special needs.
Right.
But, and this is important for our Kairos Clan listeners, not all Montessori programs are the same.
Oh, of course not.
You really have to do your research, find a school that's really equipped to meet your child's specific needs.
That's where resources like kairosclan.com and the blog In the Fog We Flourish can be so helpful, right?
Absolutely.
Because they can really, guide families
For sure.
who are trying to find those really specialized resources.
Yeah. And I think going back to how Montessori benefits kids with special needs, imagine a child with autism who maybe has, sensory sensitivities or struggles with transitions.
Yeah.
The structure of a Montessori classroom can be really helpful. With its clear work areas and consistent routines, it can be really calming and reassuring.
I can see that. When my son was younger, we really struggled with transitions.
Yeah.
Like major meltdowns, but having that clear routine really seemed to help him.
That makes sense. And another great thing is that individualization.
Yes. Tell me more about that, because I'm really interested in, how is it actually individualized?
Well, if a child is struggling with a specific concept, a Montessori teacher can adapt the materials or the presentation to fit that child's learning style.
So it's not about forcing everyone to do the same thing at the same time.
Exactly.
Which is, again, so different from the mainstream approach.
Right. It's recognizing that each child learns differently and giving them what they need to succeed.
I love that. But that must require a lot of skill from the teacher, right?
Oh, absolutely. Finding a school with teachers who are not only trained in Montessori, but also have experience with special needs, that's essential.
Got it.
You want teachers who are really good at observing, identifying a child's strengths and challenges, and being flexible in their approach.
So it's not just about slapping a Montessori label on it.
No.
It's really about the expertise of the people within that environment.
Exactly. And open communication between Parents, teachers, and any therapists, too.
Of course.
It's a team effort, really.
It takes a village.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've been talking about all these wonderful potential benefits, but I think it's important to acknowledge that there can be drawbacks too, right?
You're absolutely right. While it can be incredibly inclusive, there are potential challenges to be aware of.
Okay.
Like, one is the availability of specialized support.
Okay.
So while a well-trained Montessori teacher can adapt things to some extent,
Right.
some kids might need extra therapies or interventions that the school just can't provide.
That makes sense.
And another potential issue is consistency.
Okay.
So individualized learning is great, but it can be a double-edged sword.
Oh, okay.
You know, if the school isn't really committed to Montessori principles, that individualization can be haphazard.
Oh, okay. So it's almost like the thing that many people see as a benefit, you know.
Right.
The lack of standardized testing and benchmarks could also be a negative if it's not done really thoughtfully.
You got it. And lastly, not every child thrives in a child-centered learning environment. Right?
Right, of course.
Some kids need a more, structured, teacher-directed approach to be successful.
So it's not like a cure-all.
Yeah.
It's really about finding what's the right fit for your kid.
Right.
And their needs and their personality.
Absolutely.
Again, that's where caresclan.com and In the Fog We Flourish can be so helpful.
For sure. Yeah, they give families a lot of guidance, help them ask the right questions.
Right, because it can be overwhelming, I think, when you're researching all the different options.
Absolutely.
Especially when you have a child with special needs.
Yeah.
Well, we were just getting started. I know we've covered a lot, but we're going to delve deeper in just a moment.
Yes, we are.
So stay tuned. We'll be back after a quick break.
And we're back. Before we jump into, the specifics of Montessori for different disabilities, I want to talk about sensitive periods.
Oh, yeah, with sensitive periods.
Yeah, this was one of Dr. Montessori's, most important insights, I think.
I know parents in Kairos Clan talk about this all the time and how much it helped them.
Yeah.
But I got to be honest, I'm still a little fuzzy on what they actually are.
It's actually pretty simple, but really powerful. Montessori noticed that during certain times in a child's development, they're primed to learn certain skills.
Okay.
Super easily, almost like their brains are just wired to absorb that information.
So it's not just about what we teach them, but when we teach them.
You got it. So for example, between birth and age 3, there's a huge emphasis on movement. Babies are driven to explore their world, developing those gross motor skills.
Oh, yeah, I remember that phase. Constantly on the move.
Exactly. So a Montessori environment for babies would be designed to support that.
Okay.
Think low climbing structures, soft mats, things to grasp and manipulate.
Like a playground for development.
Pretty much. But these sensitive periods, they don't just go away, they change.
Okay, so what happens after those toddler years?
So between ages 3 and 6, language becomes the big focus. Kids are soaking up words and grammar so fast.
So all that time I spent reading to my son, even when he was just babbling, it wasn't for nothing.
Not at all. You were totally tapping into that sensitive period. A Montessori preschool would be full of opportunities for conversation, stories, and new vocabulary.
And those practical life skills we talked about earlier.
Yes.
Like pouring water, buttoning clothes, all that.
Exactly. It builds independence, fine motor skills, everything.
Wow. It's amazing how much is packed into those simple activities.
Right. And for parents of kids with special needs, this can be a game changer.
Okay, how so?
Let's say you have a child with Down syndrome. Maybe they have some language delays.
Okay.
Knowing about this sensitive period would encourage you to create that language-rich environment at home.
Right.
Lots of singing, reading, interactive play.
So it's like a guide to focus our efforts at the right time.
Exactly. And then as kids go to elementary school around 6 to 12,
their sensitive periods change again. They start to become more aware of social dynamics, injustices, that kind of thing.
they're seeing the bigger picture and questioning everything.
Exactly. So a Montessori elementary classroom would really nurture that.
Okay.
Imagine discussions about environmental issues, projects to help the community.
Wow, it's very different from just memorizing facts and taking tests.
It is, and that's where the individualized approach of Montessori is so powerful for kids with special needs.
Okay, I'm seeing how this all connects now.
Think of a child with ADHD who can't sit still.
Yeah.
A Montessori teacher could let them move around the classroom while they work,
That's a great example.
So it's all about adapting to meet each child's needs. But of course, we have to be realistic.
Right.
Not every child will thrive in this kind of environment.
Okay.
Some kids, whether they have special needs or not, might need more structure, more teacher direction.
And that's okay. We're not saying Montessori is the only way.
No, it's about finding the right fit, right?
Yeah.
Exactly. And kairosclan.com and In the Fog We Flourish can help families figure that out.
Absolutely. They offer so much guidance and connect families who are going through the same thing.
That's so important because it can be overwhelming, especially when your child has unique needs.
For sure.
But we're not done yet. There's still so much to discuss.
There is.
We'll be back in just a moment to talk more about, specific examples, practical tips, all that good stuff.
Sounds good.
Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Welcome back to the Golden Scarab. We've been on quite a journey today.
We have, talking all about Montessori, especially for our listeners in Kairos Clan who are considering it for their children with special needs.
We've covered a lot, the benefits, the drawbacks, the sensitive periods, all of that.
Yes, and those incredible Montessori materials.
Right, like the pink tower, the metal insets.
Exactly. And how those can be adapted for different developmental needs.
It's been a lot to take in, but before we wrap up,
Yeah.
I want to touch on something you mentioned earlier, this idea of unlearning. Yes.
It really intrigued me.
It's a powerful concept, I think. It's about recognizing that sometimes
Yeah.
our own ideas about, how children learn, what they're capable of,
Yeah.
they can actually get in the way
Okay.
of really supporting them.
So are you saying that we need to question our assumptions about education?
Exactly. Even if those assumptions come from a good place.
It can be hard, right? To let go of what we think we know.
It can be uncomfortable, yeah.
Especially when it comes to our kids.
Yeah.
But you're saying that this unlearning is important.
It's crucial, I think, if we want to create learning environments that are truly inclusive.
Right, for all children.
Yeah, regardless of their abilities.
It makes me think about all the times I've tried to teach my son something in a certain way.
Yeah.
Because that's how I learned it, or that's what the book said.
Right.
But maybe there's a different way, a way that makes sense for him.
And that's where Montessori can be so powerful.
Right.
It's not about forcing kids into a box, but creating a space for them to explore, experiment.
Yeah, at their own pace.
Exactly. And that's how they discover their own potential.
It's about nurturing that love of learning, just for the sake of learning.
Absolutely. And that's so important, especially for kids with special needs who might have had negative experiences.
Right, who might feel discouraged.
Exactly.
It reminds me of Kamije's story from Salt Lake City. She shared how her son, who's on the autism spectrum,
Yeah.
really thrived in a Montessori school.
I remember that.
He found a sense of belonging and accomplishment.
It's amazing, isn't it, how the right environment can make such a difference.
And for families who are just starting out, feeling a bit lost, kairosclan.com and In the Fog We Flourish are there for them.
Absolutely. They have so many resources, connect families who are going through similar things.
It's that reminder that you're not alone.
Exactly.
There's a whole community supporting you.
So this deep dive, it's all about giving you the information you need to make the best decisions for your child.
And whether Montessori is the answer or just a part of the journey, I hope this conversation has been helpful.
I hope so too.
Sparking your curiosity and giving you some new ideas.
Remember, every child can learn and grow.
And it's up to us, the parents, the educators, to find that path for them.
That's beautifully said.
Thank you so much for joining us today on the Golden Scarab.
It's been a pleasure.
We hope you found this deep dive into Montessori for special needs children informative and inspiring.
And until next time, keep unlocking advocacy, education, and empowerment.
Thank you for listening to the Golden Scarab.